Welcome, everybody. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Additions to the agenda. Does anybody have any other than me? Okay, we need to add a fireworks contract to the agenda under new business.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of adding fireworks to the agenda under new business, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. So we got that added. Anything else? Good. Chair's remarks. As you just heard, we just added fireworks to our agenda for tonight due to some spectacular fundraising done by Shane Shippey and his family and our own Michelle. We were able to pull together enough money to have fireworks this Saturday, same day as the fire muster. They will start at dark. We appreciate all the work that everybody's put in, and the fire department, coming together last minute to be able to do fire safety for us during the time and all that kind of thing. That's great. The next announcement is, which you've probably heard if you watch these meetings at all, is every week recycling starts July 1st. So we will be doing that every single week from here on out. That is all I have. Oh, wait a minute. I have one more thing. Former town attorney Chuck Cummings has passed away, so condolences to his family.
Yes.
And that is it. Do we have any guests? No. We have open public comment on any non-agenda item. Seeing none, we move on to department and committee reports. Cindy, come on up. And Gordy should be back here momentarily. He had to run home and grab a piece of paperwork to help you speak to all of us tonight.
Okay.
So, if you want to start at the bottom and work your way back up to town investments.
Okay.
Let's start with the CDL requirements for town drivers. That discussion.
Okay. That sort of goes along with number 2, which is the Clear Choice Medical Services.
Perfect.
We met, do you want to go back to the beginning?
No.
Okay. We met, Michelle and I and Wade Mashur from VLCT met with Clear Choice MD Urgent Care up on Putney Road to discuss using them as our physician that we send people to if they're injured on the job. Because AEIOU, which we use down in Greenfield, now goes by appointment only, and you can't schedule an injury.
Sure.
Kind of.
I get that.
They kind of frown on that. So we met with them, and as part of that, they would also be available to do the DOT physicals, etc. During that conversation, Wade discussed whether we have a policy making DOT physicals mandatory. At this time, the town does not have a policy. However, our highway commissioner, David Walker, requires it.
Okay.
But it's not a policy, and Wade thought to protect us, we should make it a policy.
Mm-hmm. Come on up, Dave. Since this is involving you, might as well have a seat.
Go ahead, keep going.
Wade felt that we should make it part of a policy, and then, and you can jump in, Michelle. Michelle had concerns about if they don't pass their DOT physical.
Sure.
What usually happens is they get a temporary 3-month card, and after more discussion with Wade, he said, Michelle's concern was, if they fail it, are we going to just say, okay, you're fired? My thought was, we don't have to use this as a bad thing. We can use it as a good thing. You're an employee, we value you, we want to keep you, so we're willing to work with you. You have 3 months, go back, in 3 months, work with your doctor if it's, just as an example, if it's a diabetic situation where they have uncontrolled diabetes,
Yeah.
go to your doctor, work with your doctor, come back in 3 months, you know, and you can work because you have your temporary, and in 3 months, let's see where you're at. And then after further discussion with Wade, he said that in different towns, there's a different, he just said there was an example of an employee in another town who has a situation that it's not going to be resolved in 3 months, but it's doable. So they gave him a temporary 1-year DOT. And then in a year he'll come back, that person will come back. So it's something where if we make it part of a policy, it's not either you pass or you're fired.
Yeah.
Tell
me who Wade is again.
Wade Mashur from VLCT.
Okay.
And so he really encourages us to protect the town, to make it mandatory that we require DOT physicals.
Sure, makes sense. Dave?
Not to confuse you.
What you're going to?
Yeah, the state of Vermont does not make it mandatory if you're a municipality, you have it.
Sure.
But you cannot go into Mass, New Hampshire if you don't have it.
Yeah.
It's strictly Vermont.
Sure.
There's a catch there. That's why we've always got them,
Yeah.
to be legal.
Yeah. Because we do a lot of cross borders, getting gravel and stuff like that.
Yep.
And plus our town van also goes to different states. And
Yep.
so we wanted to let you know that we've met with Clear Choice, and we would really like, with the board's blessing, to switch over to make them our provider
Okay.
instead of AEIOU, because AEIOU just doesn't give us what we need. And also to discuss making a policy, whether you wanted us to work on a policy to make DOT physicals mandatory. But there's wording that Wade gave us wording where we can word it in such a way where it says, you know, that the town will work with the employee to help them get to, you know,
Sure.
it's not going to be you go up, have your physical on Monday, you don't pass it Tuesday, you're out of a job.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
I move that we allow the treasurer to switch from AEIOU to Clear Choice Medical Services. Second.
Okay. We got a motion and a second. Further discussion. I just have one question for you, just because I'm kind of familiar with this. I know AEIOU, as far as physicals go, is probably the least expensive to utilize around here, and obviously that's an appointment thing.
Right.
And I know Brattleboro is about 25% more, which, I mean, you're talking $50 versus $75. It's not
Right.
a huge difference, but if we're going to contract, for lack of a better word, with Clear Choice, can we do some negotiation on our physicals for our town? Let's say we're doing,
I can try.
We can certainly talk with them about that.
that's what I would do. I mean, it's a $25 jump from, I think it's 50 to 75 between AEIOU and Brattleboro and Clear Choice. So if they're gonna start getting all of our business, so to speak, then maybe they'd be willing to meet the pricing that we're offered somewhere else.
Right now, our health insurance will cover it,
Okay.
most of it,
Good.
just about 90% of it.
So then the town would only be responsible for the
There's very
For the
little bit
copay.
that they don't.
Yeah.
So I got a quick question. How many employees currently have a CDL?
7?
Any other discussion? Steve?
The only thing I would say is, though, is given the fact that AEIOU, what an odd name, and given that they are, you know, only now doing things by appointment, maybe their low rate is tied to the fact that they don't even have the service capability. And whereas I know I've had some contact with the Clear Choice people, and they certainly have a very good structure there, and also very reasonable pricing when it comes to other kinds of testing. I don't know about physicals, but certainly blood work and that kind of thing. They're way below the competition.
Yep.
Well, my husband and I had to use Clear Choice last year, and we got in quickly. It was we were diagnosed, we got our meds, and we were home,
Yep.
and it was very positive. We went up, they gave us a little tour. It's a really nice facility. They do x-rays there, they do, bone, they can do splinting there. They do everything right there. They're open 8 to 8, and you don't, one important part is you don't have to have an appointment. The one person that called AEIOU was told they had to wait a week.
Yeah.
And if you're injured on the job, you're not gonna wanna wait a week.
Yeah, makes sense.
Good.
I'm assuming you don't have anything since you made the motion. Gene?
No, I know there is a price difference on the DOT physicals,
Yeah.
but if the insurance is covering it,
There
that would
shouldn't,
be
yeah, it's not
neglectable.
not a huge deal. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. We have a motion to switch our services from AEIOU to Clear Choice Medical. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passed. The second set of that discussion is the CDL requirement for our town drivers. It sounds like for the most part that we require it anyway, but this is more of just a policy thing. And if you guys, sounds like you have a VLCT outlined policy of how to do this. If you guys want to put that together, we just need a general consensus if that makes sense. So that we should start working on a policy that enforces what we do already, I guess.
But I think the part about having the 3 months improvement plan situation is very important because.
And that's more DOT than it even is us. DOT gives you the temporary card and they tell you you
Right.
need to get your medical condition under
Right.
control, otherwise you can't drive.
But there is
So-
obviously a pathway there, which is good.
Kevin?
Yeah, just general confusion, because initially you said CDL, and then you started talking about DOT.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you're
CDL.
talking DOT physicals,
Yes,
not CDL.
correct.
So
The
if the
CDLs
red
are
bus brought a
required.
pickup truck to
Yeah.
transport something, you're not talking them having a CDL, you're talking
Yeah.
DOT.
Yeah.
Okay. I got confused.
So is everybody good with putting together that policy? Okay. Alright, so I'll let you guys start working on it.
Physicals used to be in until the last time the personnel policy was done. Then they didn't put it back in, I don't know. You go back to the older ones that say,
And this is
And it-
really
for
strongly
anybody
recommended by
that drove.
VLCT.
Makes sense.
Everything we do to kind of make our workplace a healthier, safer environment helps us with our insurance rates,
Sure.
so.
If it's okay with the board, I'm gonna skip right to Dave with road closures, cause I have a feeling it's gonna be quick, and since you're sitting here already, do you wanna speak to those?
sure,
Okay, go
what?
ahead.
I have no clue.
I don't know either. It says Highway
You
Department,
said to
Dave
put
Walker,
you on
road
the agenda for
closures.
road closures. Guess what?
No, I just said we were closing Huckle Hill.
Okay,
Okay.
what is that date that we're closing Huckle Hill?
I can't say for sure right now.
Okay,
We tried something today. I'll let Michelle, we've been given at least a week's notice.
okay,
I don't know if we're gonna try to do it again like we did today.
okay,
We had a road plate and
yep,
it's scary. I think it's safer to close it, if
Yeah.
it's all right with everything.
okay. Yeah, when the time comes,
I didn't know if there was complaints or,
It
Um,
wasn't bad, we
no.
got one, and we were able to work through it.
yeah,
I did have a question about the closure. So if someone needed emergency services on the other side of wherever your closure is, what would they have to do, go down to Bernardston and?
no. We got a truck there with gravel and we also have the road plate.
Oh, well, jeez, that's
Oh, we got it.
wonderful.
It might take us
When you said
until 5
closure, I
o'clock.
thought, like
It's
they're gonna
closed
do
for
in
them
Guilford.
coming through, but
All
no,
right,
no.
That's wonderful.
Any emergency vehicles will
You
go through
certainly
the normal
can't
way.
complain about that.
And if we have to go back the next day because it's something we can't finish digging, we'll
Yeah.
deal with it.
I understand. Very
Okay.
nice.
very good.
Very nice.
All right, you're off the hook, Dave.
Okay.
All set. Gordy, come on up.
All right.
So you guys have some suggestions for us, some funds?
Yes, Gordon came up with some suggestions of ways he wants to help grow our money. And I think you all have a copy of this stuff.
Is this the one entitled Relationship Notes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so I'm really curious about that, but that's all right, I'll just leave it to the side.
So what there's two parts to this kind of. There's the cash part, which at this point I would recommend leaving the cash alone because I don't know what I'm going to need. We're just starting the new thing with the cemeteries, starting July 1st, where we'll be using money out of the funds. And so far I only have one cemetery quote. It's for Tyler Cemetery, and it's $940 a mowing. And they mow once a week. So I don't have North, and I don't know what's going on with South. So what I want to do at this point is leave the cash the way it is, so that I have liquid to work with. Yeah. And maybe take a look at it later on after we've seen how the cemeteries are going to work. I have spoken with Mary Lynn, and she's going to be getting the figures to me as soon as she can. She was only able to get that one to me. But as far
as the mowing goes, that's what you're talking about?
Yes.
It's $940 a week?
A week for Tyler.
Man, I'm in the wrong business.
So, I mean, you're talking almost $10,000 from July 1st to the end of the season for that one.
Yeah.
Alone. I don't know about North, and I don't know if, I know they're going to do something with North. I don't have the pricing on it, and I'm not sure if they're going to do anything with South at this point.
I have just a quick question on that issue. We had been using Howe, is it
It's still Howe, yes.
Okay.
How
They just
how
have
does
changed their pricing?
Well, what they did was, before it was just charged, it was all of the cemeteries plus by the tomb, and also the museum.
Yeah.
And the North School, I think, was part of it too.
No, I
No.
don't, I think
No.
they do the
Museum.
North School.
The museum. Yeah,
The
South,
museum.
yeah, South School,
Sounds
South, yeah.
Because the North School, the rec.
North School is
the garage.
Oh,
over
it's
the
right here.
garage
Oh,
over here.
I'm thinking the
South
chapel.
is the museum. So so what they did was they pulled out, okay, this is how long we take to do Tyler. So
I
they
see.
tried to pull the pricing out, and so far that's the only one I've received is
Okay.
that one.
Yeah, well, it makes sense.
So so I really need to keep the cash there until I know what I'm gonna need, because I don't wanna be needing money and all of a sudden going. So Gordon's suggestion was to put less money in cash and kind of put some in CDs, but I wanna hold off on that if it's okay with the board. As far as the investment portion, what he's talked about doing in here is taking money that's invested in MFS, is diversifying it. It stays in MFS, but it kind of in different categories. And I am fine with us doing that. If you look at it, you'll see that it will yield a higher rate. And it's staying in the same thing it was in, it's just being moved into different categories.
Can you give me an idea how much liquid cash that we're holding, or that you're suggesting that we hold?
Well, if you look on here, it tells what each one has.
Okay.
Right now, for example, Tyler Cemetery has $10,220 sitting in a savings account, which I can use, and I can use.
Yep.
South Cemetery is $5,116.11. North has $5,421,
Gotcha.
and Alexander Perry has $3,574.91.
Okay, and that's the portion that you wanna.
That I
That
would
you
like
wanna
to
leave be.
leave be until we
Okay.
have a little more understanding of what we're gonna be needing.
Okay.
But as far as the investments, the suggestions that Gordon has made, I think it sounds good to me. It sounds like, we'd be making more money for the town, and it's staying in what it's in. It's just kind of,
Yeah, we're simply talking about, for many years, going back all the way to 1958, all of the assets in the various accounts have remained in one particular fund with the one fund family. There's absolutely no diversification. And being able to generate a little bit more income to replenish the liquid cash stream that Cindy needs is what we're talking about. Because we have funds, one of our accounts has American funds, Investment Company of America, up about 8%, but missing opportunities with the Growth Fund of America, up 16% for the year. The Euro Pacific Fund, also up 17% for the year. And then also looking at higher yield bond funds, which can generate more than the 0.03% we're getting at the savings bank. We're talking more like 5.6% is the yield on some of these higher yielding bond funds. So at no cost to the town, all we would be doing is exchanging, and the examples are all on your sheet, taking the one fund and diversifying it into 3 or 4 funds. Some more growth, some growth in income, a little bit more income to just keep the assets there, the cash flow moving in from the investment. What we're trying to generate basically is growth and income. That's the whole bottom line here. And Cindy, I'm not sure if you were going to move on to the large town account with all of the corporate bonds and CDs. Were you going to address that individually? I mean, the corporate and municipal bonds. This is the one with the $3 million.
Right, that's the one that's broken down into multiple funds.
This is the one that's broken into corporate bonds and government bonds. Do we have that on there?
Is that this one?
Yeah.
Sure, Cindy's got a question.
Cindy,
Yes.
as I'm reading this, Alice J. Brooks would have no cash in it.
That is correct. Their savings account is still with People's Bank.
So there would still be some savings account?
Yes, but
So-
it's not with Edward Jones, it's with
Okay.
People's Bank.
And that's the same thing with the Marsh Fund and stuff?
Correct. The only cash funds that are with Edward Jones are the cemeteries.
Okay,
The rest of the money that you see, like with Alice J. Brooks, that's the money that was invested.
all right, but if somebody needed something from the Alice J. Brooks Fund, you still have funds
I still have
available?
funds available in People's Bank.
Go ahead.
The suggestion on the Town of Vernon Association Fund presently has 344, little update since this printout, has $344,303 in cash, earning 0.03%, if that.
But I really don't wanna move.
Okay,
I don't
and that's
wanna do anything
absolutely
with the
fine.
cash because, you're talking about if we have a capital expense or an emergency, capital reserve expense, and I don't have money to move, I need to have money.
Exactly.
So I don't really wanna, my recommendation is not to touch the cash at this point. To go ahead, we can go ahead and diversify the investments, but leave the liquid for now until we know what we're gonna need.
And the investments are
The
are the real
investments in
money
that,
anyway.
the investments in that account are all short-term corporate and government bonds. And as they mature, and they're in increments of about $100,000 to $150,000 per bond, they'll wind up sitting in that cash bucket. And the point simply is, and I'm here at the favor of you guys. I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Yep.
But we can reinvest some of it. It doesn't have to be $100,000 increments. They trade in $5,000 increments. And we can run them short term. It's totally up to you, Cindy, as to what you feel comfortable with having at your disposal. Remember, you can sell a bond just like that, and you're liquid again. I'm not saying take all $350,000 and investing it, but how often have you been called on to withdraw $250,000 at any one time?
Well, not long ago, we had to use money out of the emergency capital reserve, so I had to move money. I periodically move money right now from the solid waste fund. So I need to have money available to me. And you're talking out of a $3 million, the total trust is $3 million.
Mhm.
We're talking $342,000 in cash.
Right, 10%.
Right.
that's fine if that, you know, if that's what you want to do. I'm just saying there are some ways that we need to be thinking about how do we make our money work for us a little bit more. But I do also want you to never feel like your hands are tied, that you have the cash at your disposal. So I understand that. Just want to give you options.
I guess I had a question. First of all, Gordon, thank you for doing this. So what the proposal is, there's about 16 individual corporate bonds. Why would we go with individual bonds rather than one fund, intermediate term fund or corporate?
So what I inherited here and is what People's United has set you up with. So working with Cindy and you, the board, and with my compliance department, making sure that nothing is done without us all in agreement for the best interest of the town of Vernon. That being said, People's has diversified and laddered out your bonds so that they mature at different periods, so that at different periods, for example, there's AstraZeneca. That bond will mature on September 18th, 2019. You have others that mature in 2020.
Okay, so this is what People's United has.
This is People's work. I haven't done a thing to the
Right.
town's investments
Yeah, I was
at
a little
all.
confused as to if this was proposed change.
No, this is
Okay.
exactly what the town owns and has owned for many years.
I guess I just don't feel comfortable with having, 16 individual corporate bond funds with $100,000 each, rather than it's maybe more appropriately allocation across funds.
I hear what you're saying. Just to be clear, though, I think what People's did, and I think it's not a bad move at all, they've diversified. $3.5 million is a lot of money. And so what they've basically done was
Last
ladder it
time I
out
checked,
in the
yeah.
increments of 100,000, because these are highly rated bonds. These are, most of them are AA plus, some are AAA. So the credit rating on them is very good. And so what you do not want to do with your investments is put too many of your eggs in one basket. So by spreading them out, and they're actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's more like 10,
About
20,
16.
30 bonds, okay? What's going to happen, though, is in 2017, 2018, we're going to be seeing these bonds maturing, and they range anywhere in rates from 1.3 to 2.3%. My job is to then present to you with the best alternative. How do we replace that bond with a quality bond paying 2.3% without, the other thing that we want to be careful here is to be very conservative with our investments. This money here, we're not investing in the stock market, okay? But the value on bonds will fluctuate depending on interest rate. There are a variety of things that will cause the bond value to fluctuate. So that's why on some of those sheets you'll see a negative, because as interest rates rise, the value of the bond will actually drop until the bond matures, at which point you receive your principal back. Okay, so as long as we don't need to sell any of these bonds, we're all set. Back to the point here, I'm good with whatever you guys decide, but when I'm looking at the portfolio of the town as a whole, I'm looking at what I call lazy money, money that is not working for the town. I want to be absolutely in agreement with Cindy to make sure that she has at her disposal, whether it's for mowing lawns or for solid waste, whatever that dollar amount is, to make sure that she has at her disposal liquid cash. Taking some of this, though, maybe even laddering it out in 3-month CDs rather than tying it up in a bond, is another way that you can generate some income. And maybe that's what we'll work on with the cemetery committees, as well as diversifying some of the mutual funds. Because, yeah, anyway, I can go on and I'll stop.
But, yeah, essentially my point is I don't feel comfortable having a bond ladder like this, rather than, as they come due, investing in one bond fund or multiple bond funds. Yeah, I mean, to me also, I mean, isn't the cost of administering the ladder more than you put the money into a fund?
Well, that's an interesting point that you bring up, my friend.
Take money to do this.
Well, it takes money to do this, but what I would be looking at is buying bonds at a discount. below par is what they call it, all right? When I took a look at the quarterly report that I received from Cindy this morning, the expenses here on a quarterly basis of $2,500, I'm assuming that Peoples was charging $10,000 a year then to manage this account.
So that represents what percent of the portfolio?
0.03%, or 0.3% is what they were charging to manage the account.
And what were we getting, for that 0.3%?
You're getting folks at Peoples, I believe, and I can't really speak, you know, and I guess I'll just leave it there. I don't work for Peoples.
All right, good enough. Thank you.
Well, my thought with, as far as this account, this one we're talking about right now is, as the bonds mature and Gordon comes to us, you know, then go ahead and, going forward, as they mature, go ahead and reinvest them. But like I said, and I don't wanna, you know, beat a dead horse, but I really want to have enough cash, so I'm not, I mean, if God forbid the fire truck, we crash a fire truck and we need to buy one out of the emergency capital reserve, I need to know I got the money there. I can't just go, okay, well, we'll wait until something, you know, I'll just use it out of the general fund until something, you know, matures, and then we'll replace it, because we have to have the general fund money to do our regular business.
I think that makes sense.
So what kind of cash investment would allow you to do that?
You can still sell these bonds anytime
Right.
that you want.
Right.
So we can leave the 300,000, 300 plus in cash, that's absolutely fine. Maybe there was a larger catastrophic thing that went down and you need 500,000. So what I'm saying is it takes 3 days for a trade to settle. So that's the time frame that you would need, whether you're with Peoples or Edward Jones, to turn any of your investments here from a mutual fund or a CD into cash. So usually 3 days is sufficient. You know.
I'm not sure about municipalities, but would it be possible to keep that cash equivalent in a short-term bond fund that you can write checks off of?
But see, that's, it's possible, but that's not the liquidity that I believe Cindy's looking for.
Okay.
Cindy now has a system set up where she can simply go online to her Edward Jones account and move $100,000 at the click of a mouse. Okay, so it's not tied up at all, and I understand her desire to want to keep that. What I was looking for was, you know, and as we work, this is a work in progress, hence the relationship notes. This is a relationship.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
It's a work in progress, and what we're simply trying to do is make sure that we work smoothly together, that between Cindy and Michelle and you folks, we're all on the same sheet of music doing what's right.
So let me rewind for a minute, back to the cemetery funds. That's to the point now where we need to change the way we're investing immediately. It's not that we're waiting for anything, well, we don't have to, but we should.
But you should.
And Cindy's okay with that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then looking at the next piece, we can't really touch much to speak of until those bonds come
Yeah.
to maturity, or there's no urgency to, because we're getting the investment that we need at the moment.
You're picking up the interest, they'll keep moving. I'm looking for there's an Oracle bond fund that matures October 15th, 2017 for $100,000. It's paying 1.2%. So when that bond matures, what's gonna happen here is I'll probably be back here the first week in October. I'll remind you that the bond is about to mature in a couple weeks. I will present to you what is available, because you also have to remember that bonds are fluid. I might have $100 million at my disposal. Let's just say there's $1 million worth, but by the time I talk to you and come back 2 weeks later, that bond could be sold out. Okay. So the process will simply be, I'll give you adequate notice, I'll share with you, these are some choices that you have, these are different companies, these are different corporate bonds or government. We're gonna replace like for like, but hopefully with a higher interest rate and a better credit rating. And if I can get it below par, all the better. Getting it at a discount.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's break this down into two different things. We need to, for the cemeteries, if we want to start reinvesting now, which seems like the intelligent thing to do, we need to all be in agreeance on that. Our treasurer is in agreeance, who is our second piece to the puzzle per the policy. So,
So moved.
I move that we, I'm not sure I'm gonna say this right, but invest the invest the cemetery funds in these, help me here, municipal?
Diversify the mutual funds within the cemetery funds.
Okay,
How about
I
that?
move that we diversify the mutual funds within the cemetery fund.
Correct.
Does that work?
That would work perfect. Does
Second.
that work?
And this is gonna involve leaving the old savings account
All the
as
cash leaves alone.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Just
Absolutely.
wanted to make sure that's clear.
Oh, yeah.
And that way
we
can
got a
get the
second.
cemeteries.
Do we have any further discussion on the cemetery side of this conversation? Okay. All those in favor of diversifying the cemetery funds, or however it was put, it's in the notes,
Okay.
please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, so the cemetery is done. We move on to, cemetery funds are done. We move on to the larger corporate account, which the only thing that's in discussion right now is the $342,000 and some change. As I'm listening to both of you speak, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, can we invest 100,000 of that 342,000, understanding that we need to leave plenty of cash available to you for whatever reason, emergency or whatever it could be. Does that make sense to you? Because it's, I hate to see that amount of money sitting out there not really doing anything for us, and I understand the need to have liquidity in certain situations, but if we could find a fund to put that $100,000 in that we could quickly turn liquid if we had to, would that make sense to you?
So leave 242,000.
That's, I'm
and
just throwing
100
out a number, yeah,
Well, you're throwing out, invest 100,000 and keep.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yes.
And as long as we can find a fund where that $100,000
I'm just not
is.
comfortable having just $100,000
Okay.
in
Yeah, I
cash.
understand.
No, but we were talking about leaving 250,
You
242.
said
Oh, I
leave
was backwards.
100,000.
You're right. Okay, no,
So-
I stand
So,
corrected.
and that's kind of like, no,
Okay.
100,000 is just not enough.
But keeping
Okay.
242 in there is a fairly comfortable pillow
Yes.
for you?
I guess I'm curious, Cindy, under what situations might you need that much within days?
Well,
That
when we
volume
make, like you said, if we have an emergency situation come up, when we make a capital fund, even one that's a planned capital fund investment, not all the money's sitting in the savings portion. Some of it's in that trust portion. So what I normally do is, in the past, was contact People's Bank and say, okay, I need to move $100,000 from the trust portion of the capital plan into the savings portion so I can pay some bills. And boom, it's moved, just like that. And I can do that now with Edward Jones. I can go on and do it myself. I can go on and I can move $100,000 from there into our general fund so I can pay that bill. I know 100,000 seems like a lot, but it can go fast. I mean, with the solid waste right now, I've been moving $25,000 at a time, probably every 5 months. And granted, I know this is all going to change because of the pay-as-you-throw.
Sure.
But I've been having to move a lot of money.
I guess I'm just curious under what situation potentially that you needed to get $250,000 ASAP.
Well, like, for example, if the highway department decides to buy a new truck, like, okay, it's been, you know, we've saved the money for it and everything, but that money's not sitting in a savings account waiting for me to
It's not easily
use.
accessible.
Right. So what happens is, I pay it out of the general fund, and then I have to reimburse the general fund out of the fund. So if a truck costs $130,000 and I need to move 100, you know, I can't rely on the, you know, I don't want to rely on the general fund to float it until money's available, because then you're gonna, our money comes in as with tax payments. We don't, all our money's not sitting there at the beginning of the fiscal year.
So you just need the ability to transfer large sums of money easily.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, and it's, I'm not, I mean, 200 and something thousand I would be
Sufficient.
comfortable with, yes.
Okay. One more point.
Sure.
You have a $100,000 bond that's maturing in August, and then you have $300,000, 3 different bonds that'll be maturing in October. So, staying, as we are investing in corporate and government bonds, am I hearing you correctly saying take $100,000 and let's do another corporate bond, as we're doing right now, which in 2 months you'll have another $100,000 that we'll be back here to discuss again. And then in October, there'll be another 300. So you're gonna continually see liquidity flowing into that account. And at any point, if you see something on the horizon where you're gonna need some cash, then we'll come together here and say, but we don't wanna invest this extra $100,000 because we have this bill coming up.
Sure.
Does that
That makes
sound
sense.
good? All right.
Steve, what's your thoughts on the proposal on the table? With
Well, I
100,000?
certainly would support your proposal of leaving the $242,365 and change in the cash fund, and then moving the $100,000 into a bond.
Okay. All right. Jeff, your thoughts? Makes sense, or
So
too
we've
little,
got,
too much?
so we've got $400,000 that are maturing August, October, right? I guess I kind of stated before, I don't feel comfortable just having a bond ladder rather than taking that money and putting it into a diversified bond fund. So, I mean, that's my personal feeling. I
Yep.
can't speak for anybody else.
Yeah.
Well, I would have an opinion on that, but I really don't know anything about it, because I've never worked in that milieu, so I'm just, I would have to say, those of you that have experience with that, I would defer to your suggestion. Does that affect this thing that we're talking about right now, or?
It affects how we invest in the future.
I understand.
Just kind of talking about.
No,
Yeah,
I
sure.
understand, and I didn't take financial stuff in school. I have to admit, I was
I didn't
a
either.
chemistry major.
I'm just happy when I have money
They
in my
don't-
savings account, so.
Just kind of learn the hard way.
Yeah, I didn't learn it all, actually.
Sandy?
I'm okay, as long as Cindy's okay with it.
Likewise.
Okay. So we need to make a motion to the effect that we would like to move that $100,000 into a bond fund.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? So all those in favor of moving $100,000 from the, what is it called? The corporate fund, essentially?
Town of Vernon Association.
The Town of Vernon Association, $100,000 from the Town of Vernon Association, and investing it in a bond fund,
In a bond.
in a bond
Yeah.
that, I guess we'll let you two decide what's the best course of action for that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good.
Thank you.
Thank you for your relationship notes.
You're welcome. Keep the relationship.
It was okay.
We didn't deal with it. I mean, I dealt with money like this, but just to spend it.
Planning Commission, that's you. Hi, Janet.
I want to invest it.
I am phenomenal. How are you?
We always thought Land is an investment. It is a joke.
Sorry.
Hello, Jen.
I actually have two things, if that's okay.
BDCC collaboration being the first one?
I could do the other one, which is easier first.
Okay, let's do the easy one first. I like that.
We would like your permission to appoint a person who is here this evening. Wait, I should do this officially because otherwise I'll get it all screwed up. We moved to request that you approve the addition of Jessica Freeman-Earp to the Planning and Economic Development Commission as our 7th member.
So
Excellent.
moved.
Second.
Okay.
Cool, thank you.
Moved and
That took
seconded.
us
Any
easy as
discussion?
part.
Seeing none. All those in favor of appointing Jessica Freeman-Earp to the Planning Commission, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Welcome, and thank you for volunteering. We appreciate it. And the
Okay.
BDCC collaboration.
You're fast.
Hmm?
You're fast.
Only because that was the easy one, you know that.
Oh, yeah, then this next one.
I
would be
should have
not
given
so
this
much.
to Michelle earlier, but I didn't. This is just what we're going to be talking about. If you'd like a copy of it. About a week ago, Martin Langeveld and Bob Spencer and I were approached by Adam Grinold from BDCC and R.T. Brown from BDCC. They believe that there is money available to assist the town in hiring technical assistance and legal assistance for the CPG hearing, which they were under the impression that the Planning Commission is the only body in town that's dealing with this. We explained to them that that was not the case, that it was the entire town, certainly us and the Select Board together. But they said there are some funds available through the governor's office that might be able to give us a lot more money than we have in the professional services fund, because some of these issues are becoming very, very knotty. We've talked about ruralization now. I don't know if you read in the paper, but the state has come out and said that they're not really sure that financially NorthStar has enough money to actually complete the process. We can go a certain distance with understanding this, but the distance is pretty short. And so they believe that there are grants available. Michelle also believes that there are grants available through the federal government, is that right? So we invited them to come to a planning commission last week and give us a proposal, which they did, and thank you, Steve. We specifically asked Steve to come so that there would be more of us understanding what it was they wanted to do. Because our biggest issue was to make sure that this stays within Vernon. We didn't want BDCC to take over our project we are the interveners, not
Absolutely.
Brattleboro or BDCC. They've assured us that that's the case. They have offered they said they would give us a project. They would consider this a project. They would look for the money. They think they know where to get it. Michelle will work with them because Michelle has federal grants of her own that she's looking at. So Michelle, thank you, has agreed to coordinate with BDCC in trying to procure additional funds. And then the next step, should we get some of these, is to find people to actually fill the roles that we need, which is technical assistance and legal assistance. We will look for people, if any of you all have any either experienced, we talked about George Sansucci, who's done some work for us in the past. We're not sure if he's free and we're not sure if this is exactly what he does, but we can try him. BDCC believes they have some other lawyers who might be available and some other technical people who might be available. And Michelle, again, has agreed to sort of let us siphon all of this information through her and get it back to us as needed. As I think I said to you a couple of weeks ago, we had about 1,000 pages of documents that are available to go through. Now there's 2,000. Another round just came through the other day. So I think what this will do is coordinate all of our efforts, and it's not very often, as we discussed the other night, that people come around offering us money or offering us help to get money.
That's my first thought. Why are they being nice to us?
Well, that was our first thought too. That was why we asked Steve to come to the meeting, and Jeff, of course, was there since he's on the commission.
Yeah.
I had no choice.
He was a captive. I was a free person.
Because
Came
we
of your
were
own
also
volition.
sort of deeply suspicious about the entire process, but we heard nothing that didn't reassure us that they just believe that this is so important for the town, and there's money earmarked specifically for these purposes, and this, go ahead, Steve, please.
Well, I would jump in and say that not only they think it's important for the town, but I do believe they're doing it because I think they feel it's gonna be important for the region to get this situation dealt with and move on. Because
Yep.
if you drag this out to 2050 or 2060 before you even start taking a cinder block down, it's not gonna be to their benefit either.
Sure.
And I think that's really one of the principal things that they're concerned about as its impact to the region. You can't really move forward with that site until you get it dealt with.
Yes.
They're
And
definitely
the only
development.
The only dealt with in town right now is NorthStar.
Yeah,
Nobody else has shown any interest in.
yeah.
And also, their suggestion was that we sit down as a group, the planning commission and the select board, and put into a CPG-friendly format what it is that we would like at the end of this process. Is it land? Is it, do we want property? Do we want, whatever we can think of that would be on our wish list that makes sense, should be more formalized than certainly it has been thus far. We've all kind of banged around different ideas, but their perception is, and I think it makes sense, that unless everything is on the table and everything is if certain things become a backdoor handshake, it's just as easy to sort of pull that hand back. And
Sure.
and they're, I guess, at the end of the day, this is our biggest shot. This is our only shot at getting this done and trying to get it done right and as quickly as possible.
Can it be
So-
done by the August? It says testimony would likely be due no sooner than August.
We're gonna try. I mean, we will get it done, but I tried to read through 7 of the 2,000, the second 1,000 group of papers, and I think that probably will be extended. It's been extended once, and it will likely be extended again. But we're ready to go to work as soon as, if you approve of this, we'll start looking for people immediately. And I guess the only other thing I wanted to say is the last time this happened, we used the town attorney, which is why we're asking you for legal money, because the town attorney just automatically did it. But that's not the case this time. We can certainly ask the town attorney if they'd like to be the attorney.
The other thing that I'm concerned about, and I think it was voiced at the meeting too, is that perhaps the town attorney does not have the skill set, or has a good skill set for some things, but perhaps not in this particular situation.
Sure.
Given the complexity and also the technical issues, I think bear some support, because, I mean, even someone like myself who've been working in the field for so many years, I will not classify myself as an expert on, for instance, rubblization or which is the big hot topic right now, or the other thing I'm also very concerned about from a legal standpoint is whose standards apply when the site is finally cleaned up. Is it the NRC's? Is it the state of Vermont? The state of Vermont's regulations are a factor of 5 tighter than the NRC. That had been seen as an incorrect arrangement by the NRC, but just what are we going to be working towards? And I think having some technical assistance in that area, current technical assistance, would be really valuable. So that's why I think this accessing these funds somehow would allow us to hire people who are knowledgeable in that and benefit the town down the road to a much greater degree than the money that we put into it.
Jeff?
I agree with everything Steve said.
Good. Sandy?
I move that we go ahead and authorize the Planning and Economic Development Commission with Michelle's help to go for it.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Does anybody have any further discussion? Jean, do you have anything?
No, I agree.
Okay. Moved and seconded to move forward with the BDC proposal to the Planning Commission and the Select Board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Great, thank you.
We look forward to seeing what we can do.
Thank you for
My
Thank you
pleasure.
for all the work.
Well,
and you have a new member help you.
We told her we hardly any work.
Yeah, give her those 2,000 pages and see what she
Well,
thinks.
that's first assignment.
That's what happened.
That's the tip of the iceberg probably when I get done with this process.
All right, meeting minutes from June 6th.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the minutes with a correction on page 4. Under Town Administrative Report, the listers expect to complete the filing for the extension, not the treasurer.
Okay. I got it.
We have a motion on the table.
Okay.
Okay. A motion and a second. Anybody else saying anything? Okay. All those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from June 6th as corrected, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? As corrected is all set. Mr. Clerk.
Oh, yes. Mr. Chairman, I move that the following warrants be approved for payment. And first one is accounts payable 24T in the amount of $45,676.18. And two payroll warrants, 23S in the amount of $8,430.86, and 24S payroll in the amount of $9,435.85.
Second.
I moved and seconded. Any discussion on that one? Seeing none. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? See, I didn't read them all through this time.
It's on the record and we have a copy.
Absolutely. Cemetery deeds.
Taken during, must be taken during the fall.
Hillside must look like it's ablaze.
So we can do these all in one fell swoop and approve them all for signature? Or we can do them individually.
Well, are they different cemeteries? Do we need to be concerned with that, or I don't know how that works?
Tim said that you can do them all at once by name.
Okay.
You don't have to read lot number in the
All
cemetery.
right, very good.
That's, I clarified with that with him before he left.
Okay.
That's what he said.
So are you looking for a motion?
I am.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the cemetery deeds for the following individuals. Richard and Karen Kren for the first deed. For the second deed, Jeffrey and Terry Rawson. And for the third deed, Marilyn and Wayne Schnitzinger.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Please signify by saying aye to approve the cemetery deeds as outlined by Steve.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
We don't have a number, huh?
They are passed. You need to sign them.
Are you a notary? Sandy, are you a notary? Janet?
No.
Jessica?
I'm sorry.
I'm a notary, but I don't think I should notarize my own signature.
Well, then don't sign it. We only need 3.
Okay.
There we go. Problem solved.
Yes.
Yes, Jean seconded. Come on, I heard her and I'm all the way over here.
I messed her up. There's 3 there.
Please hold for a brief intermission of signatures.
Yeah, right. Doesn't have Josh thing.
My handwriting is about equivalent to a 3-year-old. That's why I use a computer for everything.
That's why we got
It goes down to Michelle, please.
that top one is like a snap right here.
Is that the one that's threatening to open?
Oh, do I need to do that? Yeah.
You sure do.
So,
You don't have to, but
I'll try to hurry.
you got the longest name, I think, so.
No, but it does take me a while, and I'm beginning to see some arthritis in this wrist. Especially after I get done the warrants every 2 weeks.
And you are the notary.
And there. Good. I'm not falling. Oh, no, you don't want that. That's something different there.
All right, while our notary's going to town, we'll start the next conversation. Server purchase, which is something we've been saving for quite some time.
And that is coming up on the capital plan, and our computer guru has told us that we will be in dire need soon, so we should probably replace it before we get to that point.
Do we have a proposal from, am I missing?
We don't yet, because it's gonna take a little bit of research on his part, so wanted to run it by you. It is going to be about $10,000.
Yeah, which is what we had set aside in the capital plan anyway, right?
Right, and
Okay.
Cindy had talked to Bill and just wanted to kind of put it out there so it's not a huge shock when this comes up after all the computers that we just purchased.
When do we have the full funds?
As of July 1st, the next
Okay.
fiscal year. So we kind of wanted to get started on that, so we would be prepared and we wouldn't break.
So we have everything in a week and a half. We have all the money available to
Yes.
us. Okay. So I would say, let's get a proposal from him to do it.
Okay. That's what I'm looking
Make sense, everybody?
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was easy. Windham County Humane Society contract animal holding agreement.
That's right here, so, yeah.
This thing.
I just have one question. It says that, they are not, they will not hold animals for rabies observation, and we are responsible for that. We should probably consider having a place to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's requires some real control, you know. I mean, that's like, I know that, you know, the means of disinfecting after that is quite substantial, if it turns out that the rabies was there.
So, definition of animals for rabies observation, is this wild animals or pets or?
They only handle wild pets.
Well, it could be even things, I mean, I know, for instance, down in Massachusetts, they had an episode where some skunks got into a calf pens and made a big mess, and there was that horse that got bitten by a skunk and ended up being rabid, and of course could transfer that to humans just by, you know, getting the saliva or the, you know, body fluids spread around, so it could be something besides a dog, I would think.
I guess I don't understand why the town would be responsible for rabies holds.
Not if it's a pet, it would be the owner's responsibility.
I would think so. If it's a wild animal.
Well, sometimes I'm not sure if it says something, the law, the old ordinance was that if it was just to check, you could quarantine your own animal.
Mhm.
But sometimes there were some situations where you couldn't quarantine your own animal, it was to be taken from you.
Yeah.
So
I think that's described actually in,
that was true.
And the new dog ordinance.
I believe so, if I'm not.
I think this is a good contract, and I make motion to sign it. Just I think we should be aware of that.
Okay. So we have a motion to sign the contract with the understanding that that particular portion is not covered in the contract.
Yes, I-
Second?
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the contract as written? Seeing,
Again, going back to my point about by signing a contract, are we agreeing the town is responsible for rabies holes of pets?
no,
Okay.
I don't see that as being our burden. It would be the owner's burden.
Okay.
Right now, the owner does do it. The health officer
Yeah.
requires it.
I guess I'm not sure why that line would even be in here. It's a contract between the town and WCHS. I mean, can't we just cross that sentence out? It have no impact on, I just don't.
I think it's.
We need to sign something saying we're responsible for something that we shouldn't be.
Well, I don't think we're saying, at least if you're referring to this line here, I don't think that
Exactly.
the town would be responsible. It doesn't say that we're going to pay for it. We are responsible to find someone who will. In other words, it's not on Windham County Humane Society to find someone, since the animal was in town here. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I did read this earlier today. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought I saw something in here where,
The new one has some provisions for that, but the old one really doesn't. So the new one doesn't count yet, remember?
no, I know that, what I'm
I was
saying
thinking
is,
of that.
we have something in the pipeline that, if enacted, would cover that, wouldn't it?
So by saying the town, it would reference really our ordinance
Mhm.
is what would be ruling that, right?
All right. I don't wanna say something
Because the proposal
Yeah.
says, on page 7, section 13C,
Right.
it says, no person shall fail to surrender any pet for quarantine or destruction when demand is made thereof. It's just if the enforcement officer said they had to surrender their pet for quarantine, we are responsible for finding that quarantine, in other words, is what this contract says.
I guess I'm not quite sure where the town would quarantine somebody's pet.
Well, if there was a suspicion of rabies, you'd be
I'm
forced.
thinking that
I mean, one of the
town and
offices
that.
upstairs.
Oh, you mean
and then it
here?
goes into whatever
Yeah,
our
what
rule-
service do you
our
find?
rule is. Right.
I would assume it'd be a veterinary service.
You'd have to,
Why
you know,
don't we
because
guess?
that stuff, I mean, they told me it could last in the ground for 6 months, when that fox decided to visit in Chesterfield.
Put bleach.
Yeah, I had to bleach the whole, that whole section of the lawn. It was an area like this, it was, the grass didn't grow. My wife was so mad. Shoot it in the back lawn for it.
Yeah.
Kill it
Chase
on
him
the
away,
road.
chase him into the neighbor's land.
Oh, no. It had a big blonde spot on the lawn.
So we still have a motion and a second on the table to approve the contract as it's written. Understood that they are not gonna be that service for us per the contract, that we're gonna have to find our own. So all those in favor of signing the contract for WCHS as written, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Excuse me.
So now we just cross our fingers and hope nobody's dog is rabid.
Our current ordinance, by the way, just says that we can put it at the vet's office and they can get their pet back after they
See,
pay all the
that's what I
money.
said, the vets.
Okay.
And that the owner's required to pay for it.
All right, I feel better now. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It just took me a minute to find it. I knew it was somewhere.
Alright, municipal roads grant aid pilot.
Yes, this is pilot program that's being run by the Windham Regional Commission. And if we would like to, and actually Dave's been working with them a little bit to figure out how to do this. This is new to everybody, which is some more money that we can get to help with water erosion issues and water control, water quality, that Dave has actually started working on already, and is working on a lot this summer. But to be involved in the grant and consider for the grant, we need to say, yes, we're interested. Right now, we need the select board to sign off and say, yes, we want to participate. And this has to be turned in by July 1st. There's a lot more work that needs to be done to get it done. And Dave and I will keep in touch with Windham Regional to get it done. But you need to decide as a town, yes, we think this is a good idea, we want to do it. It's really focusing on hydraulically connected roads. So any roads that have culverts, water bodies going under them, by them even.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out how many miles of those roads we have, but,
I think 5 to 10.
is that it?
I did get the map. Jeff did send me down one that I could understand.
Oh, okay. It says 5 to 10. It's not a lot of money, but
So
if you would like to try to go for it,
Okay.
we need
Been
to.
moved.
Second.
We got a movement and a second in. What do we call that? Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor of moving forward to try to secure the municipal roads grants in aid pilot, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Very good. Please sign away. VLCT board nominations.
As qualified officials of the town of Vernon, you are eligible to be on the board, and the process is to be nominated. If you have somebody who would like to nominate or would like to be nominated, now would be a good time to tell me. And I can submit some paperwork.
Would anybody on the board like to be nominated to the VLCT board? I'm shocked. Okay, moving on. Comments to NRC.
Correspondence, I'm sure. And I just put that on there because the due date for correspondence to them is coming up as July 23rd. So if you wanted to make an official comment as a select board, now would be the time to direct me in which way to go there.
And you can do that on their website as an individual as well. Do we want to make a statement as a board, or do it individually through their website? We've already made a statement to the Public Service Board that was essentially in support. It would be a very similar note to the NRC.
Well, I think coming from the board would perhaps have more weight.
Yep.
And especially if it was on, town letterhead and that kind of thing,
Okay.
That would,
Yes,
so can I
Karen.
move that we,
If you guys, if the board wants to draft something, maybe we can send it out from the board and the planning commission?
Together? Mm-hmm. That'd be
Since
awesome.
we're not interveners on,
right?
with the NRC, maybe we could just do a town, one from all of us.
Sure.
So let me phrase the motion. I move that we instruct our town administrator to prepare a letter to the NRC regarding our support of the NorthStar license transfer from Entergy. I don't know.
That's good.
Anything else? That's enough.
Second.
And you can embellish it as you see fit.
Moved and seconded.
From the select board and the planning
From the
commission.
I think a joint letter would be very
Yeah.
eye-catching. It would have so many signatures on it, it'd be like the Declaration of Independence.
Just please be available, because I'll be running people down, because it's due.
It's
So
due, yeah.
tomorrow I'll be running around.
Make sure they can read your signature though.
And
It says,
yes.
it says
It
July
says July.
23rd. Is
Oh,
it
it's
June
in July,
23rd?
not June?
It
It says July on the thing, but you also typed it, so.
Is it
But is
June?
it June or July?
I better double check.
No, it's July.
It is
July.
That's
July?
what I
It's
thought.
got a
Oh,
solid
so I don't
month.
have to panic yet, okay.
No.
I'm
Solid
missing a
month.
month.
Phew.
Okay. So all those in favor of providing a letter of recommendation to the NRC on behalf of the Select Board and the Planning Commission regarding the NorthStar license transfer, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Very good. Fireworks. We need to approve signing of the contracts from Atlas for this year's fireworks. The funding is there. We have not received the checks as of yet. We have one large check coming, which should be here next week, if I'm remembering correctly. And then we have several small checks from many local businesses and farms that supported this fundraising effort. So we need a motion to accept the Atlas contracts.
So moved.
Second.
And moved and seconded to approve the Atlas contract for fireworks for this Saturday. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Very good. We got fireworks again. Thank you for everyone's efforts and all those businesses and farms that supported those efforts.
I think, again, the fireworks are a valuable community gathering that potentially there's more people that show up for fireworks than any other town
I agree.
event.
Yep.
Gathering.
And actually, while we're signing stuff, I'm gonna list off the businesses. That's you. Is that both you?
Just say that.
Okay. So, Al's Towing and Repair, the Miller Farm, Abatum Exterminating, Bill Gilbert Plumbing and Heating, Steve Septic Service, Trent Business Solutions, Down Under Sub, Dale Merritt, Land Surveying, Maximum Performance Auto Repair, the Vermont Farm, Sir Sosmo, Maximum Performance is on there twice, good for you guys. Vermont Wood Studios and Baldwin Excavation are the local folks that supported it, and as I mentioned, we did have another large contributor who would like to remain anonymous. Not even gonna give it to you. There's not enough spots for you.
My hand was kind of hurting from all
Was
the
it?
signatures and
Getting the arthritis in there.
getting old.
I understand. RFP for town attorney. Everybody received a copy of it to review. Questions, comments, concerns, changes you want to make before it goes out to bid.
I have on the date for it to come back. July 3rd is Monday, and I realize the office is closed on the 4th. But so if our town administrator would like to take a day off that Monday, could we change it to July 5th?
Are you taking July 3rd off?
I was going to, but I was gonna suggest changing it to the 17th anyways,
I
cause
was
it's a
gonna
little
say,
later
that's a
than I
little-
wanted to get it up.
Yeah, that only gives us a
But
week
that
and a
is the
half, so we need to
sweetest
go out.
thing that I've heard.
So the email just comes in. Just leave it there.
So,
July 17th.
move it to the 17th. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay. July 3rd's my birthday, so.
Oh, happy birthday.
Get some fireworks on
Heck yeah, man. All legal fireworks, of course.
that day. Oh, yes.
Sparklers only, under 20 inches long.
Gotta measure them.
They make 20-inch sparklers.
They do, yep.
Also, if there's anybody in particular that you know of that I should be sending this out to directly, please let me know. Cause I just start throwing darts at the internet.
I like
who
that
I can
idea.
find, and I put it out.
Darts.
Did you look VLCT?
That's good,
Sent
RC
it.
darts.
Good deal. I
One
will
of the dart
I will
boards.
throw a side note onto this. I got a panicked phone call from our current town attorney when he saw this on our agenda, and I told him that this is part of what we're doing this year, which is exactly what we're doing. We're throwing out RFPs for pretty much everything
Uh-huh.
at this point, because we need to reevaluate what we've done all these years and make sure that it's the right thing going forward. And that he would be asked to submit his
A cover letter.
his cover letter, just like anybody else, of what his services are and what they will cost going forward. And I told him that we appreciate what he's done for the town thus far, and it's not a reflection on that.
No,
So, everybody happy with it, with the change of the date to July 17th?
yes.
Okay,
I'm happy.
I'm glad you're happy. If you're happy,
That's all
I'm
it
happy.
takes.
Okay, we don't need a motion to change anything, we can just send it out and
Works.
move on with our lives. Contract for law enforcement services. Steve?
No, at least the language I'm seeing in here is what I supported,
Yes.
and eventually, and did you get any feedback on whether they supported this, or?
Well, I gave you what he
The contract came from
preferred
him.
the last meeting, and
All right.
gave him this back and said that this is what you really wanted, and he said okay and rewrote.
Said okay.
Said okay, so I did
Well,
go through.
okay is the right word.
I did go through the rest of the contract though to make sure, because last time there was just an amendment page they
Yeah.
had given us. So I did go through the whole contract and make sure it's all the same as it was last year,
Thank
except
you.
for that
Thank
one
you.
So
change.
you're happy with that, Steve?
I am happy with that.
I'm happy if you're happy.
I'm not, I'm not like ecstatic, but happy with it.
Pleased. Please, not happy.
Are you $250,000 happy?
I'll manage.
Because if you're $250,000 happy, then we're fine. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve and sign and you sign the contract.
Second.
I really when Steven signed this.
Oh, did you want me to make it?
So,
Sandy's so much more eloquent.
that's true.
In a concise fashion, which I am not.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the amended Windham County Sheriff's contract. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? You can't have fun at a select board meeting, where can you have fun?
That's true.
We gotta get television ratings up.
I know.
We're gonna be canceled.
Hey, ask BCTV, our ratings are the best.
Yeah.
Right to farm signs. Why are we talking about this again?
Because of the funding,
Money.
Oh, that's right, we didn't
Yeah.
have enough money.
we have only enough for one
We
sign.
get one sign.
And we gotta get,
Very
and so we can do one, I'm sorry, let me shut my mouth. That's what I learned today when I was in the treasurer's office. I said, really, 200, what was it?
200,
Really?
225 or 275, I can't remember what it was.
I was almost tempted to say, well, look, take my paycheck for the next quarter and put it towards the signs, please.
Hey, I'll take your money.
Well, if
We'll
you're
get
gonna
it
do
done.
it, I won't offer it.
Oh, you were going
I
to.
was gonna offer, yeah.
Let's put it right down the middle, 125 apiece. Everybody good?
Well, we have, it's $250 a sign,
Right.
and we have $250 left in the line item this year.
That has to be spent.
Doesn't have to be spent,
Well,
it's what's left in the line
It's
item.
what.
And we actually have a total of $250 in the line item for next year. Now remember, that includes all the maintenance on the signs.
Yeah.
So we get one sign this year and one next year.
And then you
But
have
then
no
we
money
don't
for
have any
maintenance or
maintenance.
flowers or
Maintenance
mulch
Oh,
for
or.
them, so.
But there might be people in town that would donate toward the sign.
There may be a couple of people who might donate to this.
Well, I think,
I'm just telling you what's in the budget.
I certainly feel that it's a good thing to do, and, you know, we don't have that many farms left. Imagine burning it with none, and then ask yourself, do you really want to go there? And I certainly don't want to see that happen. You know, my family had farms years ago, but, you know, it collapsed because there just wasn't the support there for it. But, you know, we should keep going with the ones we've got.
Yep.
And right to farm is very important, I think.
So we need a motion to approve the purchase of one sign
We have enough for once, but we don't have any,
For
then no
this fiscal
maintenance.
year.
for this fiscal year.
Oh,
No, it's next year that we only have enough money in the budget for maintenance.
I see.
So the other additional $250 to do the second sign on the other end of town will have to be fundraised or generously donated
Well, that's
by
like fundraising.
people.
You're a 501c, aren't you? You need
My kids
something-
think I am.
I mean, no, I'm talking about you, the select board should be at least somewhat nonprofit, I hope.
The town is, sure.
Yeah, so
If you make a contribution to the
I
town.
certainly
it's
will
absolutely-
commit well, I'll commit to a sign, $250, sure.
I won't leave you hanging on the bags, so I'll just,
You what?
I'll split it with you.
You will, really?
Yeah.
All right, then we'll do it together.
Didn't we just do this a minute ago? I said 125 apiece.
You
We did. We had to, the parties had to.
We had to kind of come to it on
As
our
long
own.
as I don't have to go out and paint the sign.
I wondered if Jeff was gonna let him take the whole $250.
No,
I
I was waiting for it. I knew it was coming.
Well, I won't.
Yes, so I'll kick in the 125 and Jeff will
I'll
kick
do the 125.
in. Yeah.
You guys are the best.
Now, the other question I have is, that we have to spend this money before the end of June?
We have to, the first sign will have to get done before the end of June.
Can he
So
do
I will
that?
call him and have him write me an invoice immediately.
All right,
As long as it's invoiced before June.
all right, fine, good. And then we'll get you the, yeah.
There's no motion yet. Don't worry.
You need a, you need a, what do you need, cash, check? What do you need?
Small bills, please.
Unmarked.
Unmarked.
No ink on. Anyways,
Mr. Chair,
okay, yes,
I move that we
tomorrow,
authorize
would that
the
work?
expenditure of
Yeah, you can, that can
$250
wait
and
Oh,
for
okay.
until
the
July.
We're making a motion.
All right, sorry.
Well,
Second.
I'll bring it.
Okay.
She totally missed it.
Say it again.
That we authorize the expenditure of $250 for one sign and gratefully accept the donation from Steve and Jeff for the other sign.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
No.
We got a motion in a second.
Or even pass it.
So
before we
all,
change our mind.
all those in favor of expending $250 for the right to farm sign and generously taking their money to do the second one, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Thank
Thank
you
you.
guys. Truly. No, all kidding aside,
Let me make a
very much
note
appreciated.
to get you some money
Oh,
tomorrow.
I'll call you.
He's doing his bank
I
transfer
was gonna
now.
give it to Michelle.
Dog ordinance.
Oh,
Oh.
I'm just gonna skip down with the $250.
You won't go far with it.
Right before you
No.
make it.
Is everyone happy with the dog ordinance? And did we allow sufficient enough time for the public? Did you get any feedback from the public sitting in the town office?
Not a thing.
Okay.
Well, the only thing I would mention here is that, and I liked your piece, where was it? Wasn't there a, I just had it here. It was a nice little, yes, Vernon updates dog ordinance.
Didn't get enough.
Consider updating. I think this is a very
It
nice
did make it in
piece.
the paper.
In the Reformer it did?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
All right, I like this little piece, but I do know from past experience with the town that it may in fact come to pass that, you know, we could have a horde of people in here complaining about it. Well, so what I'm thinking is that should we schedule a hearing? I mean, or I guess this is a hearing now, but
We have
yeah.
to have one anyway because it's a new ordinance.
Yes. So what the next step would be is for you to approve it, and then it gets published in the paper in
Right.
much more detail than
the whole
that
ordinance.
press
essentially,
release.
yeah.
It's gotta be
we
on
don't
the
have
town
to put in the
website.
whole ordinance. We can paraphrase it. So I can kind of highlight the changes from the old one to the new
Right.
one, so we're not a huge column.
Well, being that it's the digital age, does it allow us to, when we put out our or our legal notice, does it allow us to say you can see the full ordinance at www. blah blah blah?
It does, but we still need to put the paraphrasing of what we did in there. That needs
Okay.
to be in there, but yes, we can put a link to the whole thing. And we have to have copies available at the town hall for people to pick up, and
Yeah,
all of that's gotta be in there.
that's fine.
I think it's very important, though, for people to understand in the town that this new ordinance covers not just dogs and not just cats, but it also covers other animals as described on page 2 at the bottom of the domestic animal. Not for all activities, but certainly domestic animals are covered here in terms of there being a potential danger
Yep.
and so forth. So people need to understand that this is going beyond the dog and the cat.
Well, that's actually not a change. That was
No,
in our
it's-
old
it's been
ordinance.
I know that, but a lot of people are gonna come in here and say, wait a minute, and so I think it's important that we just state that we've retained the portions and that these animals have protection under this law, and you have protection, maybe, from them under this
Yeah.
ordinance, yeah.
In case of a rabid chicken.
Well, and not just rabies, but I'll tell you, there's some roosters out there that'll tackle you, and you'll wish they were rabid.
I
because
understand.
They're worse than rabid.
I was viciously attacked as a young child by a banty rooster.
And you know what a trauma that left with
Oh,
you.
yeah,
Look at his shirt.
My uncle had the same experience, and he hated chickens ever thereafter.
So if you don't have any changes to this, though, I would suggest coming back to the next meeting with the final version.
Okay.
Because this was more of a draft, still waiting
Yep.
to see if there was revisions.
We have a comment from the audience. Come on, I can't. Yes, ma'am.
Is it okay to make comments about, I went and
You
picked up a
absolutely
copy.
can. You want to come up here?
Not really, but.
Well, Sandy's coming up, I
Did you
also
have
want to point out.
No.
Should make sure that the title of this reflects the fact that it's more than just dogs. Because I think people I don't want to mislead people this time.
Yep.
And then be accused
Not
of,
this time.
of
There was no
having-
first time.
of having neighbor against neighbor and all that stuff.
In reading it,
That's why it's
I looked at the purpose, and
drafts.
I'm wondering what you think is the purpose of this ordinance? What are you trying to accomplish with this ordinance?
The purpose is to update the current ordinance to fall better in line with state law.
But I mean, what's the purpose of the ordinance?
Protection of animals and residents.
Public health and safety.
Okay, that's what I would have thought, and what it says in here, it's the purpose of the ordinance is to regulate the keeping of dogs and wolf hybrids and to provide for their leashing, muzzling, restraint, impoundment, and destruction, and they're running at large, so as to protect the public health and safety of the town.
Yeah.
I would love to see it not include that. To me, that sounded very non-Vernon to me, or it sounded like the purpose was to, it didn't really sound like what I think you really are trying to do. You're trying to provide for public health and safety of the town and the enjoyment of
Yeah,
the
the main
residents.
purpose is to regulate and whatever it's.
Yeah, and it's
Well,
also to
leashing
protect
and muzzling.
animals too.
Yeah,
I mean, if further, you read further into the
It just seemed like it kind of
I
a
think-
harsh,
Gets
Yeah.
off on the wrong foot.
yeah.
I
to
think
me,
what it's
it
doing
did.
is outlining the ways to do the end goal, which, you know, is, I understand what you're saying though.
But maybe if we wanted to draw, then we could start it with the purpose of this ordinance is to protect the public health and safety of the town and the quiet enjoyment of its residents, homes, and properties by regulating. That would be
That
less,
sounds better.
less
Yeah,
Nice.
and to go
Love that.
further.
Public safety of people and animals.
Right, as
if
it
it's
further
in there.
states in there, not just dogs, not
Right.
just cats, but other animals that
Right.
may in fact create a hazard. Even they
Yeah.
have ratites in there,
A what?
ostrich, emu, and,
Yeah, I know.
and
What is
rheas.
I didn't see a
I'm gonna
goose.
look that one up.
I didn't see goose,
Carrots,
but my
carrots.
goose
I'd love to
probably
have an
would be a
emu.
threat. A neighbor.
You poultry, you're better. I've been attacked by a goose, I know that's.
Okay.
Another question I have is, it sounds like if there's a violation, and I'm not sure what a violation is. I mean, the nuisance I understand, and the rabies I understand, and, but if a working farm dogs, which I'd never heard of, that you needed to be registered as a farm dog with state law. I mean, I have dogs that help protect keep other fox and coy dogs, whatever, away from our goats and our chickens. But it sounds like they're the only ones that are allowed to do that if they're designated as a state. I didn't know there was such a thing, that you had to
I
be
think
There
it-
is working
Yes.
farm dogs, they
Yeah.
don't ever come in the house, they stay
Yeah.
outside
Oh.
totally.
I think it more
Protecting the
refers to,
livestock.
Dilemmas.
you know,
That's
herding and that
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
So then my question is, if you have an animal loose on your property,
Mhm.
are you in violation of this ordinance?
No.
No,
No,
it's when he's
okay.
loose on someone else's
And
and you
if-
don't have verbal control.
And this last fall, I never had noticed so many dogs that were missing and posters up and, you know,
Mhm.
dogs that are loved by their owners and who try to keep control over them all the time, but dogs get loose.
Sure.
Right.
So if a dog is, I mean, I don't know whether they ever found those dogs that were missing, I kept looking for them,
One
but,
of them.
but if a dog is loose and you're trying to find it, are you going to have to go to court over this? I mean, it sounds like if there's no, is
There's,
that clear?
I hope so. I mean, there's a pretty clear difference between intent of, you know, just letting your dog run loose or your dog running away. And that has to be, you know, decided on by the intelligence of our animal control officer, who's doing the county sheriff. Whether it's, you know, a violation of the ordinance or not, which obviously if your dog is lost, and that, I would think that they would be intelligent enough that they would say, let's go find your dog, and not be worried about an ordinance.
Well, that's the way it's been in the past.
Yes.
You know, and I when I read this, I just hoped that that's not what we've coming to, that you're going to have
Absolutely not.
to go to court because your dog was,
No.
Now, if
I
your,
mean,
if your
you know,
dog is
even-
loose and he kills the neighbor's chickens,
well, that's
Yeah.
happened
or he
in my
tears
house.
up your goats,
I know what a nuisance dog
well,
is.
I know you do, and I do too,
Yeah.
and in those
That's-
cases, but you know, 9 times out of 10, something gets killed like that's probably a coyote.
Yeah, well, I did have neighbors' dogs killing ours, and
Did you? Yeah.
but I called the neighbors. I
Yeah.
didn't call the
Right.
the
Well,
sheriff, you know,
And
and I
sometimes the
hate to
neighbors
see
tell
us.
you to go pound sand.
That's true.
And that's where this ordinance comes into
That's
play,
right.
is that,
Okay.
you know, we hope everybody can work out those situations as neighbors, and they don't get, you know, the sheriff's involved, but it gives recourse for someone like yourself if you have a dog that continues to come over and kills a chicken after another chicken after another chicken, and you've spoken to your neighbor 2 or 3 different times, and the situation's not being fixed, you have this ordinance to fall back on and say, please help me, because I've tried to resolve this on my own and I can't.
Okay, that's what I hoped. I
Yeah.
hoped that there was gonna be common sense, but sometimes things get written like this, and
Yeah.
someone, whoever's interpreting,
Well, the thing
and
is, if you don't
assume
have
they're-
an ordinance that's written like this, then your neighbor can say, well, show me where it says that my dog can't go over and kill your chickens.
Yeah. Or can't be
I'm not
on
kidding you.
your- on your land
There
uninvited
are
or
people
whatever.
out there like that.
Whereas my-
you know?
There's no I have no responsibility because there is no law against my dogs
Yeah,
being over in
and
your
they're
property.
relying on that now even.
Go ahead.
There's a state law about dogs, pretty much the same thing, so
It
why
is.
do we need an ordinance?
So
It seems like a waste of time to enforce it.
To tailor it to our situation here.
There's no waste of time or money. The ordinance came essentially from VLCT, pre-done for us. We made a handful of corrections
Yeah,
to it,
minor changes.
and it allows the sheriff department to
Right.
do their job.
Right.
There's a state law, they have to enforce it.
Not,
But if they're gonna take it to court, they have to have a certified copy of the ordinance in order to prosecute.
So what good are freaking state laws?
Ask the state.
This is ridiculous.
So I won't waste your time with any more comments. I
well, it's
just
not a
hope
waste, it's not a
that,
waste of time.
No, we
Yeah.
appreciate everything that you brought up.
comments. Yeah, and if
Yeah.
you know of
Good.
other people out there who are concerned about this, for heaven's sakes, have them get in touch with the board, come in and voice their concerns too, you know? Because
just,
the last thing we want to do is try to put something over on somebody, you know? That's
Yeah.
not our style here.
no, and
And we made this as public as humanly possible
We're trying.
through social media
yeah.
and through the Reformer and anywhere else, so people could come and like yourself and comment about anything
Yeah,
that
that's what I
they
saw.
saw in the ordinance, and we appreciate you coming in and taking the time and bringing some very good suggestions, especially on the wording of that first paragraph.
Yeah, well,
Appreciate it.
use as much common sense as you can and make it so that it isn't, someone can interpret it, that, like the law enforcement, whoever's enforcing it, just throw $150 first offense, you know, I mean,
Well,
it's
but
hard enough to have
Sandy,
animals these days.
One of the things you have to do
Offense.
though, is if your child is out on a bicycle and some neighbor's dog comes out on the street and bites through the child's leg, knocks it down, breaks his bones, that, and this dog has
That's
harassed other people, you
Definitely
need to have,
covered in this,
it
yeah,
is, yeah,
yeah,
and
I'm
you need
just
to have
talking
it
more
specifically
common
laid out.
sense
Cause you know
things.
what?
Absolutely.
Someone will say, well, they gave flexibility to someone else, they need to do it for
No,
me.
no,
You know,
well,
and that's not right.
somebody's-
I mean, your child should be on the highway, or should be
Safe.
able to get on the highway safely. It may not be your child, it could be you.
Thank you. So, we want to switch the wording around on that first paragraph to make basically the last sentence the first sentence and so on. That makes sense to everybody?
It does, and the other thing I think important in the purpose is to note in the purpose that it's more than just dogs and cats.
Yep. So what do we want to call it? Not necessarily a dog ordinance, but an animal ordinance?
Well, I think it's animal ordinance.
Domestic animal?
Domestic animal
Domestic
ordinance?
Because it not only talks about, you know, a dog or animals injuring animals, but it also talks about protecting ones that are being abused.
Sure, absolutely. Yep.
I don't remember, does this have the thing on the wolf hybrids?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I thought so, but,
I think it just has them with definition. I think it's the only,
okay. Have they done away with all those crazy laws about them, you know?
are they, or who?
Did the state do away with all the crazy laws?
I didn't see any under the dog ordinance, and I went through and really tried to be consistent with the state law in all of these.
Okay. So you're gonna bring us back a finalized copy at the next meeting to approve with the change of the paragraph and the change of the actual title. And we'll be good to go. Public participation, agenda items only. Seeing none, we move on to correspondence. That's you,
I'm sorry.
correspondence.
Correspondence. Right. We have a notice of appearance in front of the Public Service Board, which really didn't make a lot of sense to me, because it's just a Stephanie Hoffman, special counsel, and that's all this says. That's it.
They're asking for
She's,
us to appear in front of the
no,
public service
she is submitting a notice of appearance, so we know she's coming.
board? Oh, okay.
Stephanie Hoffman's coming. That's the first time I've ever gotten something that simple.
Who is Stephanie Hoffman?
A special counsel.
Okay.
That's all it says.
She has something to do with the,
On behalf,
yeah, with the North
and
Star.
just for appearance
Yeah.
on behalf of the Vermont Department of Public Service, and that's it. It's
Oh,
all this
Department of
says,
Public
it is
Service.
literally one
She's
sentence.
an internal department.
But I am sharing the correspondence, that's all it says, I am not lying.
All right, we'll take it.
Okay, the other important correspondence is the New England Coalition has filed a request for a hearing on the alteration to Entergy's certificate of public good for the reduction in their safety parameter. So they, that's not what I need. And I did give everybody a copy of the updated maps for Black Gums. That's just for your information. And that's pretty much it. Everything else.
Side
is-
note to the Black Gum Swamp thing, the state will be coming back at us in the next 2 months. I wanna say it's September, asking for the reclassification again. I did hear that. I think it's September, that they will be starting the process again. I heard through the grapevine. So, think about it.
Okay, and then if, I can get a signature on the cleaning and, or the snow removal and landscaping contract, you have to vote on it, cause you already did.
It's already done, yep.
That's the only administrative note I have.
Alright. Nothing from the media town administrator report?
That's the only thing I have
That's
in
it?
my report, yeah.
Love it. Upcoming meeting schedule, handicap meeting at the Governor Hunt House Thursday, June 22nd, that is this Thursday. Regular meeting Wednesday, July 5th, it was moved due to the holiday. Planning Commission public hearing on town plan amendments will happen Monday, June 26th at 6:30. Select Board public hearing on town plan amendments, Tuesday, August 1st, 6 o'clock. Open meeting law training will happen in Brattleboro, location TBD, Wednesday, July 26th at 6 p.m.
That has not been confirmed yet, it depends on space, 'cause we have
Okay.
a lot of people that wanna go.
Okay. Because I expect anybody on this board that can make it will attend, I imagine, because that's a good thing to have a refresher on every now and again. Somebody wanna make a motion to adjourn?
Kidding.
I'm not kidding. Let's do it different this time.
I make the motion we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are done.